Are you wondering what to do this holiday season? Will it be the same? Will you be able to give your family all that they need? Well, with TDC Financial Services, all your holiday woes will disappear. You can get up to $35,000 unsecured for your holiday needs. Give us a call at 465-6516 or 469-5430 to find out how we can help to make your holidays happier for you and your family. TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Clap and Rams, the good food people. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas from Rams. This Christmas at Rams Supermarket is free. This December, shop all Rams Supermarkets and take advantage of all the in-store specials and free giveaways. Celebrate Christmas with Rams, where you're guaranteed better prices, better quality, and better value for your money. Happy holidays from Rams, the good food people.
Terms and conditions apply. See in stores for details.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to yet another edition of Voices right here on 1FM 98.9 for Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. Good morning to all our usual and first-time listeners, and good morning to all the hard-working people out there. This is another edition of Voices on your radio station, 1FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and today will be very soft and very different. We will be focusing on the budget that was presented by the Nevis Island administration, the Premier of Nevis, Mr. Matt Brantley, and he's also the Minister of Finance in the NIA. And so we will be giving you some highlights of the budget presentation. The budget stands at $237.2 million. $237.2 million is the 2021 budget for the Nevis Island administration. And this morning we will be giving you some highlights of the presentation that was made in the Nevis Island Assembly on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday morning, it was the graduation ceremony of the Charlestown Secondary School. And Miss Donella Thompson emerged as the valedictorian, and we will be just giving you some short highlights of what took place. Her valedictorian speech, which I thought was very inspiring, and she uttered words of wisdom, and she admonished her fellow graduates to understand that life is quite uncertain, and there is no set schedule for life. And so her opportunities would be different from their opportunities, and their opportunities would definitely be different from hers. And so I think the words that she uttered at the graduation ceremony was words of wisdom, basically. And so those are two of the topics basically that we will be focusing on for this morning, the first segment of Voices. And of course, we will open the phone lines to hear your comments on the budget presentation. I think the budget is but I can't really find a word to describe it. But $237.2 million is a lot. And so what we look forward definitely for the year 2021 and what our government can achieve. And whether you support the government or not, it's not about support, and it's not about politics, your political preference. But if the NIA succeeds, the people of Nevis succeeds. And so I will give you the opportunity to listen to the presentation, just a short clip of the presentation that was made. However, we will begin off on a soft note with the graduation ceremony. So you will first hear from Miss Donella Thompson. She emerged as the valedictorian of the Charlestown Secondary School. Then you had Mr. Patrice Nisbet II. He emerged as the salutatorian. Those two young people, I understand they did extremely well, of course, because they copped such top spots, but they did extremely well, and all of the students did extremely well in their graduations. They received various awards, such as the Premier's Award. The Premier's Award is awarded to persons receiving 6 or more subject passes, and then you had awards from different institutions on the island of Nevis. And 107 persons graduated from the Charlestown Secondary School. So they will be going out into the world of work. They will be looking to enter college and or university, and basically be in the real world now. So we will now hear from Miss Donella Thompson of the Charlestown Secondary School. She is the valedictorian of the class of 2020. And then we'll hear some short words from the principal, and then we'll go into the NIA budget.
I would like to adopt the protocol so ably established by our chairperson and only add my personal greeting to you, Her Honor, Deputy Governor General Ms. Hailita Liburd, Ministers of Government, education officials, teachers, parents, and most importantly today, fellow graduates of the Charlestown Secondary School, class of 2020. I feel especially humbled to be able to speak on behalf of the amazing graduating class. It feels like just days ago, we all pulled up at the front gates, fresh graduates of primary school. Some of us were thrilled to be among the oldest students in high school, while others seriously, like myself, considered bolting out of the gate because of fear of change in subjects, change teachers and teaching styles, and change in friends. Even so, we bit the bullet and made our way into our new environment of 9 teachers, 9 subjects, and our individual mindsets of what we would make of secondary school. In a blink of an eye, we were heading to third form, where we really had to think about what we wanted to be in life and attempt to choose our subjects accordingly. Soon, SBA started to rain down, and homework and tests seemed to appear from thin air. Despite it all, we learned to take on each new challenge and let them mold us and not break us. All too quickly, we were headed to the dreaded fifth form. The countdown began as we raced against the clock to finish our SBAs and finally begin our study for the big man himself, CXC. But just when we thought we had a sense of control, a new and unexpected obstacle by the name of COVID-19 stood between us and the finish line. Before we knew it, school was being shut down, leaving the entire fifth form in a state of panic. It was with the help of our faithful teachers and with the aid of virtual platforms that we were able to get the work done in time for the first postponed and then slightly changed exam. 2 Timothy 2 verse 15 from the Good Book offers us wise and timeless counsel, quote, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, This is a verse that I have heard all of my short life from my mother. Fellow graduates, the accomplishments we celebrate here today are the result of the work we put in. The investment of time spent seemingly endlessly studying, practicing past papers, drafting and redrafting SBAs continues to pay dividend today as we revel in the approval of our God, our families, and our community. Zig Ziglar puts it even more plainly. Life is an echo. What you send out comes back. What you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. What you see in others exists in you. My fellow graduates, let us remember these words as we go on to college, university, our jobs, or wherever life may take us. Classmates, as we look to the future, I challenge us to do 3 things. 1, don't be afraid to try new things. Move forward with confidence, knowing that if we work hard, we can achieve great heights. 2, life is not a set schedule. Everyone does not have to do everything at the same time or in the same way. Your success may not come at the same time as mine. My opportunities might not present themselves in the same way as yours do. Take time to uncover your gifts and talents. Nurture them. Go at your own pace. And 3, never give up. When the road gets narrow and winding, keep on walking. When your goal or dream seems just out of reach, stay the course. Keep on reaching and never give up. Finally, I have saved my most important task for last. On behalf of the class of 2020, I offer thanks. First and foremost, thanks must be given to our Heavenly Father, who has blessed us and kept us during our secondary school journey. He gave us the health, strength, and capacity to gain an understanding of 5 years' worth of knowledge. For this, we are truly grateful. To the first teachers in our lives, our parents, who've supported us emotionally, physically, and financially, we say thanks with all we have, as without your guidance to the years, there would be no achievement for us. To our subject teachers, we register our eternal gratitude for the time and instruction you gave us. You put up with our complaining, and there was a lot of them, and our slacking off. You spent hours preparing presentations and notes just to make the lesson more interesting and digestible. We say thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To my own parents, Catherine and Donald Thompson, thank you for all the love and support I have received leading up to now. Without you, I will not be able to stand here or anywhere. I would also like to give a very special shout out to Mr. Dominique Hines, a teacher who burned the midnight oil with last-minute study sessions and classes, a teacher who stayed up at all hours to make certain if we had questions, he was there, who ensured we were up bright and early on the day of exam, and came to school to make sure we had calm nerves going into that exam room and was right there when we came out. To you, thanks is not enough for all you have done for us. Also, a special word of gratitude to Ms. Zawani Morton, who ensured we understood the material well and made certain our SBAs were in tip-top shape to be sent to CXC. To all family, friends, and well-wishers who prayed for our well-being, we appreciate you. Finally, graduates, may God continue to bless us as we end yet another chapter in our lives and turn a fresh page to begin a new chapter. Congratulations. We did it, class of 2020. Wait. Finally. To you, my very attentive and socially distanced audience, thank you for patiently allowing me to get through this speech despite my obvious nerves. Thank you for your kind attention. God bless and enjoy the rest of your day.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
When we began the school year in September 2019, no one could have predicted the kind of year that we have experienced. We planned for many things, but I must be honest, there was no plan for COVID-19. This resulted in the early closure of school in March and the subsequent delay of the CXC-CSEC examinations. Although most of the work with regards to the syllabus coverage and SBAs were completed, there was still an air of panic and uncertainty. It has called upon us to do things differently and to be innovative. However, amidst all this, some things remained the same. Our tradition of excellence, resilience, and perseverance remained intact. Being here today proves that to be true. We could have buckled under the pressures, but we did not. We rose to the challenge. You, along with the guidance from your teachers and parents, overcame the odds, and today you stand as proud graduates of the Charlestown Secondary School.
Yes, good morning again and welcome back to Voices here on Win FM 98.9. You were just listening to Miss Donella Thompson. She's the valedictorian of the Charlestown Secondary School's class of 2020, the graduating class of 2020, and she uttered some words of wisdom to her fellow graduates. The ceremony was held under a theme that I think is quite fitting: overcoming and progressing. Considering these challenging times of COVID-19, the students or graduates of these classes of 2020, they had to overcome and they had to progress. They had to progress through these very challenging times. And then you also heard from the principal of the school, Mr. Joel Williams, delivering some remarks at that ceremony. We're now going to hear from the Nevis Island Assembly, where the Honorable Premier Brantley will present, or he did present, the budget for the Nevis Island administration for 2021. And the budget was presented with the theme, Rebuilding Our Economy, a people-centered approach to economic recovery. So we will now hear from the Premier and Minister of Finance in the NIA, the Honorable Mark Brantley, as he outlines some specifics of the budget presentation.
The budget for the upcoming fiscal year is set at $237.2 million. We have allocated the amount of $174.9 million to recurrent spending, representing 73% of the total budgeted expenditure. Having considered the uncertain negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, my administration is projecting collection of $128.2 million in recurrent revenue, which represents a projected decrease of 8% when compared to the projected revenue of $139.5 million for fiscal year 2020. We expect our recurrent revenue to be augmented by the remittance of at least $45 million from the federal government, representing a share of revenue from the CBI program. Our combined total recurrent revenue is therefore projected at $173.2 million for the upcoming 2021 fiscal period, and when compared to the projected recurrent expenditure of $174.9 million, provides a deficit under recurrent budget of $1.7 million. Mr. President, the amount of $62.3 million has been allocated for the funding of our capital expenditure program. This represents a 10.2% reduction when compared to the amount of $69.4 million that was allocated for the fiscal year 2020. This is largely due to my administration's policy to be conservative in our spending over the medium term and in response to the anticipated reduction in revenue collection for the upcoming fiscal year. We anticipate that funding for our capital budget will comprise of loan funding where applicable from the St. Kitts and Nevis Social Security Board, the Sustainable Growth Fund, grant funding from the Government of China, Taiwan, along with other grant funding from our regional and international partners. In addition, my administration will seek loan funding from other financial entities at concessionary rates not exceeding 4% per annum to complete the financing of these capital works. Therefore, Mr. President, a summary of resources projected to finance our 2021 expenditure program is outlined as follows. Current revenue, $128.2 million. Projected minimum revenues from CBI passport processing fees, $45 million. Social Security loan and other concessionary loans, $21.4 million. Government of China, Taiwan funding and other grant funding, $10.8 million. While we have made these projections, Mr. President, I want to be very clear that we intend to be very strict with the collection of revenues and will seek to reduce revenue losses by curbing our open-ended concession policies. I wish to reiterate that annual budgets are merely projections for revenue and expenditure. The extent to which we roll out expenditure will naturally depend on our ability to access funding, especially for executing the items as outlined in our capital expenditure program. I wish to assure the public that we will not be reckless in our spending, and we will only seek to undertake projects if the funding is available or can be accessed at low cost in accordance with our debt management strategy. Where funding cannot be accessed at concessionary rates, we will curtail our expenditure program and carry forward to fiscal year 2022 any projects which were not executed due to a lack of approved financing. Mr. President, the major allocations in our expenditure are as follows. The Office of the Premier is allocated funding in the amount of $7.7 million, representing 3.2% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated to support the security services in our fight against criminal activity. The Ministry of Finance is allocated funding in the amount of $80.6 million, representing 33.9% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated to meet our debt servicing obligations. The Ministry of Communications and Works is allocated funding in the amount of $34.2 million, representing 14.4% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for our infrastructure development program, namely the upgrading of our road network, maintaining of government buildings, and other structures along with provisions for upgrading our water services. The Ministry of Agriculture is allocated funding in the amount of $12.6 million, representing 5.3% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for our food sustainability and security, disaster mitigation, and upgrading of our processing facilities. The Ministry of Health and Gender is allocated funding in the amount of $35.6 million, representing 15% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for providing improvements in the quality and delivery of health care, an increase in the remuneration for our nurses, along with the completion of construction work under the Alexandra Hospital expansion program. The Ministry of Education, Library Services and Information Technology is allocated funding in the amount of $34.2 million, representing 14.4% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for the delivery of quality education to our people, executing work under the CDB TVET enhancement program, and general maintenance of our educational facilities. The Ministry of Social Development, Culture, Youth and Sports is allocated funding in the amount of $16.1 million, representing 6.7% of the total budget. Included in this amount are funds allocated for the delivery of our social protection agenda and improvements to our sporting facilities. Mr. President, I come now to what everybody was awaiting, the conclusion. In summary, the fiscal year of 2020 began on a high note with reasonable expectations for continued economic growth. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic has triggered an unprecedented global recession that has left no corner of the globe unscathed. This health crisis, with its accompanying challenges, has brought about tremendous disruptions in every aspect of our lives. Across the world, more than 1.5 million persons have lost their lives. More than 62.5 million persons have fallen victim to the virus. Labor markets have been gravely disrupted, resulting in an unprecedented rise in unemployment rates. Supply chains have been interrupted. Demand for goods and services has drastically fallen, and productivity and output levels have significantly decreased. Many families suffered through both voluntary and involuntary separation due to lockdown and quarantine measures. Schools have been closed, and many of the social norms and activities that are vital for social cohesion have been curtailed. Further, it must be noted that the asymmetrical nature of these outcomes means that middle-income developing countries such as ours here in St. Kitts and Nevis and other emerging markets will bear a disproportionate share of the cost of this pandemic, as we lack the finances, infrastructure, and technology needed to carry out vital activities to effectively support our economies. Mr. President, many governments across the globe, including us here in St. Kitts and Nevis, were forced to respond to this crisis by implementing significant fiscal measures in order to cushion the effects on its people. These measures include bolstering and supporting income loss, expanding our social safety net programs to ensure that the most vulnerable are protected, and working with financial institutions to provide credit, support, and relief for individuals and businesses. Moreover, Mr. President, this crisis has allowed us to carry out an objective and decisive evaluation of our food security, health education, and technological infrastructure. We had to quickly identify both human and financial resources that could be effectively used to put infrastructure in place to mitigate the economic and social effects of this crisis. As such, I am confident in declaring that we have learned a great deal from this experience and that we are in a much better position now to deal with a similar pandemic of this nature. Mr. President, it is expected that the mitigation measures that have been put in place to prevent the widespread effects of COVID-19 will remain in place for some time into 2021, as developed countries are now witnessing a second wave of this virus that may ultimately result in further lockdowns. It is hoped that during the fiscal year 2021, a credible vaccination program will be in place, and that transmission rates across the globe will be on the decline, thereby permitting life and work to once again resemble that of the pre-pandemic era. Despite our positive approach to the new fiscal year, we anticipate soft demand, a reduction in remittances, a weak travel and tourism sector, reduced foreign capital flows, and a potentially stagnant job market. Thus, we are compelled to build measures into this budget to minimize these effects. The crisis has significantly reduced our tax base, and therefore our spending measures, as outlined in this budget, are targeted towards initiatives that will support sustainability in the near term, with a focus on agriculture, health, education, and financial services, and the construction sector, the environment, and income-generating cost savings infrastructural projects. We all look forward to the end of this crisis and a return to some level of normalcy. Mr. President, the Cabinet which I am privileged to lead pledges to be creative and resolute in managing the affairs of our island, especially during this difficult time in our history. We anticipate that some difficult days still lie ahead as the global community tries to turn the corner on this pandemic. As your people-centered government, we ask you, our people, to keep the faith, to continue to support your government as together we will work hand in hand to overcome these difficulties. Together we will work to build a better and brighter Nevis for ourselves and for future generations. Thank you again for the faith and confidence you have placed in my government. This Christmas season, let us all express our profound gratitude and be contented with what we have. On behalf of the Cabinet, I wish you a happy Christmas and a new year filled with hope and confidence as we partner with you in rebuilding our economy. Mr. President, Nevis is on the right track and we will not be derailed. I therefore urge our people to keep the momentum. Mr. President, I so move.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Hello?
Jean, you know every time I call you, it's always about something good.
What going on?
Well, the TDC retail stores in St. Kitts and Nevis are at it again. Their new stocks have arrived.
Really?
Yes, new furniture, printers, toys, appliances, electronics, housewares, even decorations, and so much more. New is in.
So, girl Betty, when we going?
You know me, I don't miss a beat when it comes to TDC. I'm getting ready to go to TDC Automotive, the Business Center, and the Home and Building Depot now. And next week, we're definitely going over to CDS Nevis to see what they have over there too.
Betty, me I'm here. Betty, you gone?
Clap and Rams, the good food people. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas from Rams. This Christmas at Rams Supermarket is free. This December, shop all Rams supermarkets and take advantage of all the in-store specials and free giveaways. Celebrate Christmas with Rams, where you're guaranteed better prices, better quality, and better value for your money. Happy holidays from Rams, the good food people.
Terms and conditions apply. See in stores for details.
Good morning, and welcome back to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9 for Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and you were just listening to the budget presentation that was made by the Honorable Mark Brantley, the Premier of Nevis and the Minister of Finance in the NIA. The budget for the NIA stands at $237.2 million for the fiscal year ahead for 2021. Before that, you heard from the valedictorian of the Charlestown Secondary School, as well as the principal, some of the remarks that were made to congratulate the students who graduated on Tuesday, 107 students. At this time, we are going to open our phone lines and we're going to entertain your calls so that we can have a discussion on these two, joyous occasions. On these two joyous occasions that took place on the same day on the island of Nevis. In regards to the budget presentation that was made, I think, I said before, $237.2 million. I mean, that is no small money. That is definitely no small money. And considering the harsh impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, or the harsh impact the pandemic had on our economy, would we be able to lift such a budget. But at the same time, a budget is just a projection of what the government intends to spend or what the government intends to make or something along that line. So it's not necessarily saying that there is $237.2 million. It's just that the government is projecting that for the 2021 year, for the year 2021, they will be spending or projected to spend $237.2 million. The Premier said that the budget will be supplemented by some $45 million from the federal government, which represents a share in revenue from the CBI program. And I think persons, particularly in Nevisians, I believe that they get quite excited when they hear something like that, because over the years we have always been having this argument or this conversation on fair share from the CBI and Nevis not getting its fair share, and now we're seeing $45 million a share in revenue from the CBI program. Now, when you say fair share, some persons don't really understand. I believe some persons don't understand what the fair share really means. If the Federation makes $100 million from CBI, I don't expect Nevis to get 50 and St. Kitts get 50, because St. Kitts is clearly larger. The population is clearly larger than ours, and so there's a greater demand on the island of St. Kitts, and so the fair share would definitely be 70 million to 30 million. 70 million for St. Kitts, 30 million for Nevis, or 60 here and 40 over there. So I think Nevisians were quite, their eyebrows went up, for lack of a better word, when they hear that $45 million will be coming from the federal government, which basically represents a share in revenue from the CBI program. The minister also said, Premier Brantley also said that the revenue collection, or the projected revenue allocation, rather, in the NIA's expenditure would include the following. He said 7.7 million for the office of the Premier, 80.6 million for the Ministry of Finance, and 12.6 million for the Ministry of Agriculture. One would think that that budget would be larger, considering that we are trying, I assume that we are trying to refocus our attention on the agricultural sector, considering that the tourism sector has basically collapsed because of the pandemic. So one would think that, okay, we're going to refocus, or we're going to shift our attention to agriculture, and we're going to invest more in the agricultural sector here in St. Kitts and Nevis, because right now you realize tourism is not saying much. Tourism is definitely not saying much. And so given the $12.6 million is quite a lot of money, there are arguments being had about it not being sufficient to achieve what we want to or should achieve, considering that the tourism sector has been collapsed. But we'll take our first call for this morning. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, and how are you this morning?
Man, I hear giving God thanks as usual, you know.
Yes, all the time.
We have a lot to give God thanks that they're able to get some numbers together.
Right. I was just having this conversation.
Courage, you know. It takes a lot of courage. That is like a prophecy, you know. Hoping and wishing. What was the total expenditure on the recurrent account?
The total...
I think you gave the overall.
The overall, let me just go through.
237 or something like that?
No, the recurrent revenue is the recurrent revenue
something?
Is 173.2.
73.
Yeah,
Revenue.
173.2.
What's the recurrent expenditure?
The current expenditure is 174.9.
That is interesting. I expected a bigger deficit.
Mm-hmm.
No, seriously. I realize a number of grants, however, grants and aids and so, are anticipated to close the gap. Spoke about grants from the Taiwanese, their citizenship by investment, their usual
Social
transfer,
Security Board.
you know? Because when I heard it, I said, that is interesting. Very interesting. And what I wanted to hear also was the comparative analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was it last year?
Well, that I could definitely have that clip played after. I will look for that.
Or you didn't check it now?
No, I don't have that clip right now.
Oh,
but I don't remember the exact. I don't remember the exact figure from last year.
Yeah, because to me, that deficit looks pretty. It's a deficit. A small deficit, less than $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, just about that for real.
No, I would question the possibility of getting it there, unless there were drastic changes in the different expenditure heads. The revenue heads, well, they're pretty stable. And the hotel sector has begun to reopen in Nevis.
Mm-hmm. Gradually,
so you
slowly.
Can't say it is dead because you have high-end. How many persons going to the other hotels?
Well, the number basically is really is small. I mean, we know that persons are not coming in the great numbers.
Those that are vacationing in place, you have how many places too?
Pardon?
Two or more.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
I asked the number of hotels that are offering vacation in place. I know Four Seasons one. I think
Yes.
Owali was one. I'm not too sure.
Owali, Four Seasons. I think the Paradise as well is one. The Paradise Beach Hotel.
They're offering vacation in place.
Yes.
Yeah, because, I mean, you all have high-end. So it isn't even like our hotels, apart from Park Hyatt. I think that's the only 4 5-star hotel we really have. I'm not too sure if any of them upgrade themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the capacity? And what percentage of the workforce has returned to Four Seasons? All of these need to be taken into consideration, eh? You have any idea?
Absolutely not. We have definitely tried to get that information, though. Earlier in October, they laid off
they laid off 218.
Some persons who were not laid off, I was made to understand they up to date. They have still not been called back out to work. So some persons who were not made redundant are still at home. But there is no, I do not know the specific number that is currently at the Four Seasons working right now.
Yeah, because you see all of these information, add to the discourse, because until the wage bill and whatever, the Ministry of Finance covers Inland Revenue, Customs, all of those, So that covers also the wage bill. I think it's 80 point something million, you said.
80.6 million.
Yes, it's a pretty, if you go on to the Nevis Ministry of Finance, you have the copy of the estimates there?
Right, it's on the NIA's website.
Yeah, you could actually download it. I used to go there and download them, You will have the address. You usually have the address posted there. And the estimates, the revenue one and the expenditure one. Then you're able to know what adjustment, because he did not say. I was surprised he did not say, well, it was 80.6 million this year. Was it up or down? That gives you a better indication as to what the expectations are, because anybody could expect. And I was a while ago listening to the leader of the opposition. She's complaining that she didn't have enough time to study the document. So she really can't make a meaningful contribution, which I think would be the fault of her party. Because usually the parties have people who get together to analyze these things. You know, and so sometimes I say the parties and the government need economic panel. You have them in other countries, you know, where you have, and they even have independent ones, where you have students from the sixth form who doing economics and other economists who would get together and give an analysis of it. Because, you know, when it comes to politicians, everybody playing politics. So I wish to hear, I don't know who the economists are in Nevis. I know they have, for sure. You have them in the government service. You know, I wish to hear it, because to make some analysis, you can analyze numbers in isolation. You know that, right?
Right.
You can't even say, when you say 173 this year, how much was it last year? Which sector you expect more from, less from? This is how you do analysis. And you spoke about the thing about agriculture. Agriculture got a big boost during the what I call it now, when they were giving out all of these things.
What's that? Giving out?
The fishermen got free equipment.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, the stimulus,
right.
the stimulus package.
Fish pot wire and those different things.
That would reduce, you know, for me, the outlay you would give to that sector. The farmers, backyard farmers, they got a lot of stimulus packages. And if that is sustainable, then the amount you allocate for it could remain constant or even less. Because I have said it before, once the economy picked back up, a lot of these backyard gardens going to turn to weeds, you know. Because people will, once they go into back to their jobs,
they won't have time for the
offer higher
backyard.
wages, they're not going to be interested. We could talk as much agriculture as we want. You could throw money at agriculture. What we need, I keep saying it, are commercial farms. We don't need a lot of people farming, you know. We have been sold that thing, but if you understand agriculture economics and policy, you don't need it. All you need are some good, productive, and efficient farms. Nevis is small. Nevis produce basically St. Kitts Nevis. The problem with exporting to some of their traditional markets has to do with the EU. You see how the donkeys roaming around in Nevis? They used to ship them to Martinique, to the French countries. All sort of impediment to trade has taken place in a lot of the markets that we used to export to. And until we tell our people the truth, you have people talk about, oh, they could sell. You just can't go easy. It's not as it used to be. You can't put 20 donkeys on a ship and send it to Martinique or so. All sorts of things are required. We put it, which makes it uneconomical. You know, so. But until you have comparative data, we only talking, eh? That's from me, because of my training, eh? And the reliance on aid. That must continue. Are you people making a big fuss? Oh, you always have to rely on St. Kitts and so. If some is yours, you're not relying on, you know. This is where sometimes I think the politics confuse our people. If you're entitled to a portion of it, it's yours. And in terms of the grants, What are the grants going to cover? Because don't forget, with all of this pandemic and whatever, our rank has not changed. Any academic book to pick up, we're up there among the high income. We're up there. Therefore, it is very difficult for donor countries to, one, give you low interest loans, to even consider lending you, or to granting you. That is why we keep turning to Taiwan all the time. Not even the USA who are out there trying to discourage people and trying to get into other countries' business. They're not giving us anything other than they might send them some army or, you know what I mean, defense and their security. So I wish Nevis well. And I am still saying that the private sector in Nevis also has a responsibility to help to stimulate the economy. We got this thing in this island that it is always the government's responsibility. I say no, I say no. The young lady was saying the leader of NRP was talking about housing. Private sector could do housing projects in Nevis. You don't think so?
I agree. I think isn't the TDC doing a housing project?
Huh?
Isn't the TDC doing a housing project here in St. Kitts?
I said Nevis are talking about.
Yes, I agree. But I'm asking you.
TDC has been accustomed to doing housing projects.
Right. So, but I agree with you.
Sandy Point, they have done upscale and all kind of scale. So what I'm saying, when it comes to Nevis, and even St. Kitts, so people keep saying, oh, the government ain't doing nothing. And the question is, what is the private sector doing? They keep opening more and more supermarkets. For those who don't understand, the only thing you get from a supermarket are what you call margins. The markup on the things you buy. And that markup that they put on has to cover wages, taxes, and all kind of stuff. They're not producing anything. A lot of them, every minute, somebody opens a supermarket. How about opening a factory? How about opening something else? One more store, one more shop. They're only getting margins. They may produce some jobs, but they're not enough. So we should begin to put some pressure, and our people, our so-called entrepreneurs, they have got to think seriously about the investment, the kind that they are making. Even the young people going into the same old thing. We need investment from the private, because in the USA, that is what drives the economy, That is what drives the economy in the USA, the private sector. And the government projects, I think he spoke about government capital accounts. That accounts for the 70 from 34, $60-something million. Is it the capital account?
The capital, I think he spoke about.
Yeah, the difference between the recurrent.
Right. Yes.
So the total to something would be the difference between the recurrent and the capital. What will it be spent on? Because most, even in the USA, they're talking about infrastructure, which would involve construction. And I have heard some people who don't understand economics saying, oh, they fix road and they whatever. Construction and tourism are the two main engine drivers in our economy. In most economies. That is why you'll find all over the world now countries are getting into infrastructure development. In America, they're going to rebuild bridges, fix roads. The same story. Because when people work, they consume. And they have to get consumption up.
Right.
So I wish Nevis well. But as I said, I expected to hear the difference is in the estimates. And I would encourage you to go online Check it out. So you don't have to be an economist, you know. You could talk numbers. Last year, so much was this year is so much, or so much less. What are the implications? For example, if you find out that the wage bill has increased or decreased significantly, you begin to ask the question, why and how, and what would happen to the public service? Because a lot of our civil servants run into the banks. I could say it now, and they could say, Miss Henry, old and retired. I hear all sorts of financial institutions offering all kind of loans, all kind of debts, and there are people who don't know what January holds, running out and picking them up, taking onto themselves. You hear all kind of $100,000 cars. The deal sound good, you know. But you have got to stop to think, what happens if the corona thing don't ease up? You think the government will forever be able to carry this heavy burden called civil service pay? You must manage your debt. Right now, you should be in a position where if next month they send you home, at least for 3 months you could eat. We don't want to hear the same thing, and then people, they're going to have 2 days of that. Check out and see. A lot of those who bought in, work since January, they're going to be breaking down the people's door. You could ask Miss Henry, oh, even they're working for good money, you know. I believe in economizing. Because you got running out and checking out a car because it's so good.
Right.
And borrowing the people them $35,000 to do what? Unless you're going to bank it. And while I'm at it, while I'm ranting, let me get to the banks. While I'm ranting. This morning I listened to a news item about the governor of the central bank having some award. And he spoke about the central bank reducing the discount rate. Now, for you who don't know what discount rate is, the discount rate is the interest rate at which the central bank lends money to the commercial bank. That's the definition. They used to lend the commercial banks at 6.5%. Now, in order to increase activity in the banks, they reduce it to 2.5%. Now, when they borrowed at 6.5%, they lend you at 11, right? Now, if the bank took off 4%, they're now lending them at 2.5%, which means that they even have access to more money, They could borrow more money now. Why do we still have these high interest rates that they're lending at? That's the question. Why? What is the present lending rate? Do you have any idea?
I am not. I'm not certain. I think it's probably around 6 or 5%.
How many?
Pardon?
How many of them offering 5?
I'm not sure which specific bank, but
you understand what I'm saying?
Most banks is around 6 or 5.
They double. In the U.S., they gone down to 0, negative. The bank cut 4. Which means the bank took out more than half, we got to get these things serious and pose some of these questions to the banks and to the private sector. These higher purchase companies, have they cut their interest rate? Because they are the ones who will get to the bank and maybe get the 5%, and you're still paying you 18 and you 20%. You see what we're dealing with?
Right.
And we want the economy to stimulate. We want to stimulate it and all of that. So I want to know really what kind of projects They said they're going to build houses, which is construction, which is good. But when they are giving the houses, they better make sure they give them to people who intend to pay for them. So I hope you'll be able to get a copy of the accounts. And if it's possible, you could play some of what the young lady is saying, the NRP leader. Because sometimes you learn from the opposition, because they will do some of the scrutiny. All right, then.
Thank you so much, caller, for your input here on Voices.
To the thing. Right, go on.
Thank you so much, caller, for your input here on Voices for Wednesday, December 9, 2020. I'm your host, Yvonne Cornelius. We're now at the 12 o'clock hour, so we're going to break for the news, and we will return at around 12:30 for the second segment of Voices. Thank you so much for being part of this program. We'll say thanks to our sponsors, and we'll go into the news for today.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season to save with Delayed Wallet and Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Purchasing a new car this Christmas? Save up to 65% off. Yes, that's 65% off your motor insurance premiums. Switch and save up to an additional 30% discount on your premiums. Visit us at Liverpool Road, Bastier, St. Kitts, or Hunkins Drive, Nevis. Call 465-2631 or 469-5303. Promotion ends December 31st. Quotations valid until January 15th. Terms and conditions apply. 'Tis the season to save up to 65% off.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Entertainment stakeholders engaged in a meeting with the Health Emergency Operations Center and other government officials to address how the current COVID-19 protocols have adversely affected the entertainment industry within the Federation. In invited comments on Wednesday, December 9th, the president of the Professional Association for Creativity and Entertainment, Azim Bailey, gave a snapshot of what the discussions yielded.
But yeah, so what was happening was that they met with several stakeholders from the entertainment industry to discuss the new guidelines as it relates to mass gatherings. The guidelines have not yet been made public, but they are already finalized, and I think the intention is for them to be put to the public at the next press conference, the next NEOC briefing.
So that's today?
Today.
Okay.
Right. I think that everyone who was in attendance felt that the guidelines were reasonable and necessary, and it's understood that it would really change what is possible in terms of the types of events that could be held and stuff like that. But just understanding the situation, and I think that was what the industry was asking for. The industry has been asking for these guidelines, like just tell us what are the parameters under which we could operate, so that we could make informed decisions, whether or not we're going to hold events, whether or not we're going to change the nature of the events, and just be in a position to make wise decisions and avoid any unnecessary losses. So I think we're very happy that they've now come up with a document that clearly outlines what the guidelines are, and I think the hope is that the public recognizes the situation that we're in, and they abide as well, and that not just entertainers or entertainment, but like I say, all of society does its part to uphold the guidelines as it relates to mass gatherings. There are definitions, there's now a cap on the number of persons that could be at any gathering. There are also different levels of risk based on several factors, including things like the size of the venue, if it's indoor, if it's outdoor, if it's people coming from one particular community or people coming from multiple communities. So there's several risk factors included. But like I said, I think that it's reasonable, and I think that people should abide by the guidelines.
As Bailey stated, new protocols will be introduced and made public at this evening's December 9th NEOC press briefing. The new guidelines are expected in the state of emergency regulations, which are slated to expire on December 31st. The question then becomes, will the newly passed COVID-19 Control and Prevention Bill 2020 be in need of an amendment to include these new guidelines as they relate to mass gatherings? Bailey indicated that he is unsure what the guidelines mean for Christmas and carnival activities.
Well, I think that depends on the nature of event, and that's a decision that would have to be taken by the different groups putting on the events. Because of the cap, I think the business model for some of those events doesn't make financial sense. And so I think what we would see if there are events happening, they're going to be events that take into consideration the new guidelines, the caps, the venues that would be more appropriate for mass gathering, even though limited. So I think those events that have been cancelled, if they do come back on stream, they'll come back in a different format. I don't think the format for most of those will work under the new guidelines. So it's not that they're saying you can't have events, but we're just saying that these are the guidelines under which you have to work on. And so hopefully we're social creatures, people are going to socialize. And so we want to, because the guideline speaks also to things like, the same messaging that's been happening, sanitize, social distance, stuff like that. So, and bear in mind, it's not just for events. It speaks to weddings, it speaks to funerals, it speaks to church, it speaks to all these kind of things. So, it's difficult to say what events are going to look like moving forward, but the hope is that these guidelines, and I think they do expire at the end of the state of emergency, which right now it goes up to the 31st of December. And so after that, we'll have to see what's next. But I guess with a vaccine on the horizon, I think the hope is that we actually kind of at the end of this phase, at least, of the pandemic, and we could start moving into a new phase where we could start opening up more, start seeing things come back to some sense of normalcy.
When asked about whether the recently dubbed black market events was addressed, he had this to say.
There was some discussion about that, and we would have pointed out that, we see a lot of that happening, and we feel that those events are very much a danger to public health. The response is from the officials is that they know that some of these things are happening, but it's going to take an all-society approach to try and address them. And that's why I said that it's important for everyone to play their role, not just the police, not just the task force, not just the CMO, not just the entertainers and promoters, but even people within the community being vigilant and being willing to report these types of things to avoid these type of events that could really and truly cause, community spread. So.
Donnella Thompson has emerged as the valedictorian for the graduating class of 2020 of the Charlestown Secondary School CSS, and Patrice Nesbitt II as the salutatorian. Thompson, in delivering her valedictorian speech, said she was humbled to be afforded the opportunity to speak on behalf of her fellow graduates.
It feels like just days ago, we all pulled up at the front gates, fresh graduates of primary school. Some of us were thrilled to be among the oldest students in high school, while others seriously, like myself, considered bolting out of the gate because of fear of change. Change in subjects, change teachers and teaching styles, and change in friends. Even so, we bit the bullet and made our way into our new environment of 9 teachers, 9 subjects, and our individual mindsets of what we would make of secondary school. In a blink of an eye, we were heading to third form, where we really had to think about what we wanted to be in life and attempt to choose our subjects accordingly. Soon, SBAs started to rain down, and homework and tests seemed to appear from thin air. Despite it all, we learned to take on each new challenge and let them mold us and not break us. The countdown began as we raced against the clock to finish our SBAs and finally begin our study for the big man himself, CXC. But just when we thought we had a sense of control, a new and unexpected obstacle by the name of COVID-19 stood between us and the finish line. Before we knew it, school was being shut down, leaving the entire fifth form in a state of panic. It was with the help of our faithful teachers and with the aid of virtual platforms that we were able to get the work done in time for the first postponed and then slightly changed exam. Classmates, as we look to the future, I challenge us to do 3 things. 1, don't be afraid to try new things. Move forward with confidence, knowing that if we work hard, we can achieve great heights. 2, life is not a set schedule. Everyone does not have to do everything at the same time or in the same way. Your success may not come at the same time as mine. My opportunities might not present themselves in the same way as yours do. Take time to uncover your gifts and talents. Nurture them. Go at your own pace. And 3, never give up. When the road gets narrow and winding, keep on walking.
Remarks were delivered by Principal of the Charlestown Secondary School, Joel Williams, and the presentation of certificates were done by Yvonne Hendrickson, teacher at CSS. 107 graduates received various awards for their performance in the July-August 2020 examinations facilitated by the Caribbean Examinations Council. The awards included the Premier's Award for passing 6 or more subjects, the CSS Excellence Award, Brands Architectural Award, the Sir Hugh Rawlings Award, the Bank of Nevis Limited Award, and the James T. Neal Award, among others. The ceremony, which was chaired by Jamila Body, past graduate of CSS, took place on Tuesday, December 8, 2020, at the Nevis Cultural Village and was held under the theme Overcoming and Progressing. Among those present at the ceremony were Her Honor Deputy Governor General Mrs. Hailita Liebert, Premier of Nevis and Senior Minister of Education the Honorable Mark Brantley, Junior Minister of Education the Honorable Troy Liebert, other senior cabinet members of the Nevis Island Administration, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education in the Nevis Island Administration, Kevin Barrett, and parents and teachers.
In regional news, talks between Liat and authorities from Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines continue after the regional airline suspended travel to the two territories. This update from Barbados Today.
Talks between Liat and officials from Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues. The update from the regional airlines court-appointed administrator, Cleveland Seaforth, comes 4 days after the carrier was forced to stop commercial flights into the two countries on the grounds that it needed new flight arrangements to operate. Speaking to ABS News, Seaforth revealed that there was now a possibility that CARICOM may intervene in the matter.
The latest is this. We continue to have discussions with Barbados and St. Vincent. The problems are not the same. In St. Vincent, the issue surrounds us. We would like to handle ourselves when we fly in. We took back on staff, we trained them. But the airport authority in St. Vincent want to do the handling and not Liat. And so we are in dialogue with them on the matter. And my expectation is that with respect to St. Vincent, we should have an answer from the board of directors on Friday. Discussions continue with Barbados. We cannot quite get a response from them as yet. However, within the last 24 hours or so, CARICOM has approached the company to find out what is the position and asked to be presented with the information which we did give them, both in respect of Barbados and St. Vincent. And my understanding, it is possible that CARICOM may make some intervention to try to resolve the matter.
Amid the recent show of solidarity, principals of the Antigua-Barbuda Airport Authority, ABA, behind the scenes are hard at work to ensure the current and future operational framework ensures the safety and success of all stakeholders. CEO V. Uletta Francis proffers a lot of work is going into ensuring the future of the VC Bird International Airport at its current location remains bright.
VC Bird International Airport in this location has been here for a number of years, and for us to move at any point, it would take significant resources. And so one of the focuses of this current executive management team is to start ensuring that we're putting all the planning, all the infrastructure in place to ensure that this location remains sacred.
She infers the major threat relates specifically to that of lands.
We have our challenges with ensuring that the surrounding lands are kept sacred. there are a number of challenges, but we have plans.
While Francis is optimistic about increasing visitor arrivals to the country, she is mindful there are challenges with observing protocols with more air passenger traffic.
We are extremely excited that all these flights are coming back. We're having our challenges in terms of logistics because you don't ever build an airport for a pandemic. I think that is something that we certainly have to revisit in the future. And so logistically, we've had to interface the port health with the arriving passengers is posing some logistical challenges. But again, working together with our stakeholders is a key element of this operation.
She adds changes are coming to operations to ensure a better passenger experience on arrival at VC Bird International. For ABS News, I'm Ursil Charles Jr.
We now bring you this international report.
As coronavirus vaccination programs get underway around the world, there are concerns growing that the poorest nations may be missed out or left to the very end of a very long queue for the resources. Now, one of the arguments being put forward to back that claim is the amount of surplus vaccine being bought by wealthy countries. Some estimates suggest they have pre-ordered enough to vaccinate their entire populations 3 times over, making it, of course, that much harder for everyone else to access them. Well, Heidi Chow is with Global Justice Now, one of the organisations campaigning on the issue for People's COVID Alliance. Heidi, thank you very much for joining us. There are some arguments for having more doses than you have people, because we don't know necessarily the efficacy of all of these vaccinations and of course, the rate at which they'll come in. Is that a fair argument?
Good morning. Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, so the People's Vaccine Alliance is a global alliance of campaigners and organisations, and we are saying that we're seeing this gaping inequality in access to vaccines. So, like you said, where we might have in high-income countries the ability to vaccinate our populations 3 times over, there are many countries in the world, and especially the poorest countries in the world, which are left with virtually very little or none.
But I suppose the point I'm making there is that we don't yet know about the efficacy of all of these different vaccines, and we don't actually yet know about the delivery either. So isn't that one of the reasons why governments are over-ordering?
The governments that are over-ordering are actually the high-income countries that are over-ordering. Actually, low and middle-income countries have struggled to access any of the vaccine doses at all because most of it has been hoarded by high-income countries. And at the time of a global pandemic, instead of having most of the doses spoken for by high-income countries, we should be actually working together collaboratively to ensure that there is a fair allocation for all vulnerable groups, all at-risk groups in whichever country they live in. This is not just a solidarity and fairness argument, it's also a public health argument, because actually when you leave vulnerable groups unvaccinated in whichever country they live in, we get to see the continued disruption to public health systems and to economies.
Yeah, of course. So should the criteria then be how badly affected any individual country is if it's going to be a level playing field?
I think there are 2 issues here. The first is how do we allocate the initial supplies that we have in the world today, and we need countries to work together to agree on the priorities for fair global allocation. But the more bigger issue and the more structural issue is how do we actually increase the level of vaccine supplies? Because we've seen this level of hoarding because we're faced with a scarcity problem. The world can't produce enough doses because the companies that are developing these vaccines hold the patents, the intellectual property, and the technological know-how. And so essentially these companies have a monopoly. And so we have a monopoly situation during a time of global crisis.
Yeah, very briefly, do you have much optimism that something better can be achieved? Because there's been plenty of talk about working for everyone together. Very briefly.
Yeah, there is a proposal at the World Trade Organization that's being discussed this week to actually suspend patent rules during the pandemic for COVID-19 vaccines and treatments as a recognition that during this global crisis, every country should have a fair shot at accessing the vaccines and the treatments that they need to get out of this pandemic together.
OK, Heidi Chow, thank you very much indeed.
With 125,000 doses secured, health officials have announced phase 1 of Mexico's national vaccination program. They say despite initial shortages of the vaccine, everyone in the country can expect equal access as supplies permit.
Todos y todas tendrán acceso a la vacuna.
Everyone will have access to the vaccine, everyone. But vaccines do not arrive in a single blow. They cannot be given at the same time to all. Some will be prioritized over others, such as the most vulnerable and health workers who are at the front lines.
The announcement that COVID-19 vaccinations will begin at the end of December comes at a critical time for Mexico. In the capital, at least 7 hospitals are operating at full capacity, and more than a dozen others nearing their limits, according to international health observers.
Today, the city is in a critical situation due to this increase in hospitalizations. And that is why we call on the population to stay at home and go out only if they have to.
Ahead of Mexico's busy holiday season, authorities have issued guidelines asking people to avoid large gatherings, gift exchanges, and to postpone their travel plans on Christmas and the New Year, although there is resistance.
We have to activate the economy. I know that there is a lot of fear, but really people also need production. They need to sell, they need to produce. We can't just stay home waiting with our arms crossed.
Even traffic appears to be nearing pre-pandemic levels.
As hospitals in the Mexican capital continue to fill up, so do streets and department stores. Health policy experts warn people should not be lured into a false sense of security just because a vaccine is on the way.
Though limitations on social gatherings are recommended, state and federal authorities have stopped short of enforcing any major restrictions. Many here expect the announcement of a partial lockdown could be inevitable before the end of the year. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
They've spoken twice by telephone in recent days and still not been able to bridge the gaps. Boris Johnson and Ursula von der Leyen forced to admit the conditions for a deal are simply not there. When the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, briefed EU ambassadors this week, he was described as being downbeat and gloomy, with no tangible progress on the 3 main sticking points of fisheries, a level playing field and dispute resolution. So ahead of the leaders' face-to-face meeting in Brussels, the negotiating teams have been asked to step back, take stock and produce a summary report.
At that stage, more than ever, the Brexit is a school of patience, even a university of patience.
The work of the negotiating teams is constrained by their own respective mandates. The political leaders, of course, have a little bit more leeway within the bounds of their own political red lines. Face-to-face talks may unlock the impasse, or, presented with a list of just how big their differences are, the 2 leaders may end up admitting defeat. Most commentators regard the dispute over fishing rights as solvable. Where the 2 sides have run into more trouble is issues of fundamental principles, such as the concept of sovereignty. To access the EU's single market, the UK accepts it will have to abide by EU standards and rules. But it bristles at the idea that the EU could impose rules and sanctions that seem overbearing.
You've got to be optimistic. You've got to believe that there's the power of sweet reason to get this thing over the line. But I've got to tell you, it's looking very, very difficult at the moment.
There may even be a third way, another stretching out of the already stretched deadlines.
It's looking very likely that the EU will have to use the procedure of a provisional application, which would mean that the deal will enter into force, even if the ratification will not have been completed yet, which throws up the risk that if one actor at the EU side still have to ratify in February or so, that the deal would be off and would be null and void retroactively, which would be, of course, a legal nightmare.
The mood was certainly improved with Tuesday's news that the UK and EU had reached agreement in principle on border checks in Northern Ireland, with the result that the UK withdrew contentious proposals to override the legally binding Brexit withdrawal agreement. But the main talks remain on a knife edge, and a slightly better mood may not be enough to overcome the substantial differences. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
That was the Win FM headline news, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season to save with Delayed Woman and Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Purchasing a new car this Christmas? Save up to 65% off. Yes, that's 65% off your motor insurance premiums. Switch and save up to an additional 30% discount on your premiums. Visit us at Liverpool Road, Bastier, St. Kitts or Hunkins Drive, Nevis. Call 465-2631 or 469-5303. Promotion ends December 31st. Quotations valid until January 15th. Terms and conditions apply. 'Tis the season to save up to 65% off. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Paint it, tile it, improve it. Your walls, paint it. Your floors, tile it. Your home, improve it. Huge savings at the Hosford's Building Center. Paint it, tile it, improve it. Sales event happening now. Yes. Come to Hosford's Building Center now and get savings of 25% off all paint and up to 75% 75% off all tiles. Yes. Enough things are gonna keep at Horsford's with up to 75% off piles of tiles in all styles and 25% off all paint. Come now and get a chance to win $500 shopping spree at Value Mart with the purchase of 5 gallons of paint or more. That's right. Buy 5 gallons or more of paint and you get a chance to win $500 in free groceries. Starting now until December 31st, 2020. It's your home. So paint it, tile it, improve it. At Hogswood Building and Nevis Center's year-end Paint It, Tile It, Improve It sale. Come now. Save big and simply paint it, tile it, and improve it. The event starts now and ends December 31st, 2020. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Good afternoon, and welcome back to Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. I am your host, Devon Cornelius. Good afternoon. I hope everyone had a good and healthy and hearty lunch. And welcome back to this second segment of Voices right here on your radio station, that is 1FM 98.9. So this afternoon we will be shifting the discussion a bit, and we will be going into something different, something that you probably have not heard about for the year, because the focus has been on COVID-19 for the entire year. We want to talk about something that is completely different, and what I have dubbed to be quite a touchy and delicate topic. And I will definitely be open to your different point of views and your opinions and what you feel about the situation. But I want to talk about crime, and not just crime in our federation, but crime as a whole across the Caribbean region. And I want us to have a discussion on this very delicate and on this very touchy topic. Of course, we have been battling with the pandemic since March, and so everyone has been talking about COVID-19. I remember having a conversation earlier this year with someone who said, "You realize crime is down across the world?" I said, "I don't think crime is down. I just don't think. I think that it's just not being reported, and people are not talking about it. So it's not that crime is down globally or regionally. It's just that people they're just not talking about it. The focus has been on COVID-19. The focus is on COVID-19, but things are still happening. People are still being murdered. Persons are still being raped. All sorts of forms of crime and violence are still taking place within the communities across the region. But we'll take this first call for this afternoon. Good afternoon, caller. You are on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing quite fine.
Oh, good. So far, so good.
Yes.
Mr. as usual, normally makes some valid point. And in terms of the budget in Nevis, and she spoke very highly with great expectation of the companies in St. Kitts and Nevis that should be doing more rather than depending on government. But if you notice that the large companies are the largest companies in St. Kitts are dwindling in terms of hardware, spare parts for vehicle, and I'm not sure that they touched building material yet, but so far they have touched tools and so on. And sometimes I wonder if the shareholders for these large companies. How can they sit down and look at directors and board members sit there and watch such large companies dwindle under these kind of leadership when these large companies were thriving because they are local, and locally financed. And we know they don't manufacture anything. They trade, they buy and sell just like everyone else. But at the same time, most of the operations that are coming into St. Kitts that are taking place, they are non-national. They probably be citizens. I'm not sure how they get the citizenship, but for some reason or another, those people are taking over the market from those large companies, which are locally shareholders controlled. And so at the end of the day, they will look forward to blame the chairman and the director. But shareholders are just as responsible, because if you sit down and watch people run companies into the ground, have space where they can use and utilize and do business and fail to do so, and go for the market that is presently ready, that is active, and they do nothing about it, then they're just as responsible as those chairmen and directors of the company. Some reason or another, I think that those men are lost. If you look at the level of how they operate, I mean, they're just what you call referral. When you go to them, they refer you to some other place to buy this or to buy that, because they don't have it. And they cannot even nail you down and say, hey, look, we can get it here for you in 2 days or 3 days. Because people prefer and happy to do business with them because they know that they are a company and they know that they employ local people. And so you want to do business with them. But for some reason or another, it's just not there. And the expenditure that Ms. Henry spoke about is that people have to consider the expenditure very, very carefully as to how they spend their small earnest income. That is very important as to where and how you spend it. Because once you spend it, it's not going to come back. And so therefore, the loans that they are offering, how you can go and get a loan for so many thousands of dollars and you don't have any way of paying it back, unless you're going to come up with some answers to your loan officer that are not true, and then you only have whatever you have for a few days or a few months, and then it's put on the market to be sold. And all these things that one have to look at seriously, because we are going through some what you call uncharted waters.
Right.
And it is not fun. It's not easy for anyone. And people have to stop, face themselves, and think. I think I've said enough. Do have a good day, sir.
Thank you so much, caller, for your input here on our program, Voices on 1FM 98.9. Sound words and definitely words of wisdom, and I hope that persons out there are really listening. But you can continue to call us. For those of you who are listening, continue to call us, and so that we could have this discussion here this afternoon on 1FM 98.9 Voices. I'm your host, Devon Conyers. As I said before, we would really be shifting the conversation to the issue of crime and violence, and we will be touching on crime and violence in St. Kitts and Nevis and, of course, across the Caribbean region. And I have with me a Eastern Caribbean 2020 crime and safety report. And so I will be referring to this report, which has most of the statistics and most of the data. But the issue of crime and violence has always been, again, as I said before, a very touchy and delicate topic, and most persons tend not to, they just don't want to speak about it because they don't believe that they have the right, for lack of a better word, to speak on the issue. Some persons believe that, well, you have to be a lawyer to talk about crime and violence. You have to be a police, or you have to be someone in national security or security to speak about crime and violence. But if you have your opinion on such matter, and if you have your point of view on such matter, then you should not be afraid to speak up, and you should not be afraid, to give your 2 cents on the issue. When you look across St. Kitts and Nevis, you see so many families around here who may have some other family members who became victims of the crime and violence, whether it be by murder or by rape or some other form of crime and violence. And so, again, it's a touchy topic, and sometimes when you have conversations such as these, people tend to get a bit emotional and a bit personal, and all kind of things keep coming out. But I just wanted to give a little snapshot of regional statistics from different Caribbean nations. So Antigua and Barbuda, and this is the 2018. This is a 2018 reported crimes rates per 100,000 citizens. Antigua and Barbuda, murders were 12, Barbados 10, Dominica was 15, Grenada 11, St. Kitts and Nevis 42, St. Lucia 21, St. Vincent and the Grenadines 31. And you have for kidnappings, Antigua and Barbuda was 2, Barbados 3, Dominica 1, Grenada 0, St. Kitts and Nevis 0, St. Lucia 4, and you have St. Vincent and the Grenadines at 5. And for sexual assaults, these numbers are quite high. You have Antigua and Barbuda at 39, Barbados at 57, Dominica at 82, Grenada at 265, St. Kitts and Nevis at 56, St. Lucia at 129, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines at 199. Quite alarming numbers, and something that we should definitely be worried about. These are numbers, however, from 2018. And as I said earlier, we are in the COVID-19 period, and most of the attention and the focus have been shifted to, the whole COVID-19 situation, whether it be finding a cure, a vaccine, or dealing with the cases that continue to fluctuate on a daily basis. Crime is still happening across our region, and as I said before, it's just a matter, and it's just an issue where people are not reporting these crimes. If you were listening to an earlier program we had here on Voices, there was a discussion on sexual abuse and domestic violence within our communities, and we were focusing at that point in time on the issue of men being sexually harassed and sexually abused, and the statistics did state that the numbers would be low because men are being abused, but they are not reporting it. So the issue, the fact of the matter is that some crimes are not being reported, and so you tend not to see it in the data that is usually presented. And I believe that was the case for 2020, or that is the case rather for 2020, where things are still happening, but it's not being reported, and you're not seeing through the various forms of social media, because the cases that we continue to have around the world, it overrides, or it in some eyes, it's more important, and it's more significant rather than the issue of crime and violence or murder or anything of that nature. But again, these are quite alarming numbers. And, as we are celebrating 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, sexual assault and gender-based violence, these things are still happening. Just recently, there was a situation in late November where a female juvenile, was physically and sexually assaulted. And when we did contact, we would have contacted the police. However, they said at that time they would not be able to provide a statement on the matter. And so you heard about it for some time, and then it dwindled. It basically went out the window, and people stopped talking about it because in some minds they would probably say, well, that is not important because you're battling the pandemic, and so we should be focusing on the pandemic. But the issue, again, of crime and violence is something that all of us face, and so it's not in any way me trying to say that, well, only St. Kitts and Nevis has crime and our crime is high. Absolutely not. When we look at our neighboring islands and our brothers and sisters across the region, we see over the years where they have been fighting with crime and violence. I think Trinidad and Tobago took the approach, I think it was in 2018, to begin treating crime and violence as a disease. They began treating crime and violence as a disease, and they implemented some measures to help curb that situation. Because you had a situation where almost every day, people were dropping like flies from being murdered. Rapes were on the rise. Sexual and physical assaults were on the rise. Robberies, larceny, they were on the rise. And it begs the question, why? One would think that, well, we are in COVID-19 and the employment rate has fluctuated because we are a tourism-dependent economy. We depend heavily on tourism, and many persons are now out of work. And so, and as we're in the, Christmas season, one would say, well, I think robberies are going to increase. And again, it's not trying to provide, or it's not trying to say, well, St. Kitts and Nevis is worse than anybody else. But it's always a talk you hear around, well, this is the Christmas season and people ain't working now. So you're going to start to hear about robberies left, right, and center, and this happening and that happening. Because if people are not working, it begs the question, how would they survive? And so they will do whatever they can to survive. And so that is the issue that we are facing across the Caribbean region, where these things are happening, and there's a matter of where people are not they're not talking about it. They're not talking about the issue. 2, they're not reporting it. And 3, now that we're in COVID-19 is totally throwing these issues out the door, and COVID-19 has the spotlight and has the stage basically for 2020. But again, these are some alarming reports, and it has indeed affected us in the Caribbean. I remember sometime in 2018, I was listening to a news item from Jamaica where the Honorable Mr. Edmund Bartlett, the tourism minister in Jamaica, he issued a statement regarding a travel advisory that was put in place against Jamaica, for Jamaica. The United States government had admonished their citizens not to travel to these high crime areas, in particular Jamaica. And the tourism minister Bartlett was of the opinion that travel advisories such as these definitely impacts or have a harsh or negative impact on the Caribbean economy and Caribbean economies, because you would not want to travel to a country or an island or a destination that has a high crime rate, particularly with robberies and murders. And so travel advisories such as these have always been affecting our Caribbean islands. And so Minister Bartlett at that time, he was basically, speaking on the issue and admonishing persons to, basically, for lack of a better word, behave all yourself. Behave yourselves. And when you look at the tourism sector and crime and violence, we would often hear of these, I can't even find the word, but I say weird stories of altercations between tourists and locals. We heard of the very unfortunate situation which took place in Anguilla. And sometimes you would think, boy, this thing is a whole movie and this can't be real, and how did the government or the authorities, the police, how did they allow this to happen? And so these are some of the thoughts and these are some of the questions that we always have. But crime and violence and crime as a whole, it is something that you can't wake up today, snap your finger and hope that it will be gone. Crime, in order for you to, or a way for you to try to fix the issue, is to attack it from the beginning. And so you can't break someone who is probably in their 30s or 40s, who have been doing crime for the past, 20 years. You can't just break them out of it. But you start young, because I believe crime starts in the school, This whole crime and violence thing, it starts at home and in the school. And what children see, whether it be from their peers, from their family, from the TV, from the internet, from their environment, children pick up a lot of things and they learn quite fast. As we anticipate your calls here on Voices on 1FM 98.9, just before we take our calls, we will just take a break to acknowledge our sponsors for this program, and we will return.
Official! Friday, December 18th and Saturday, December 19th are VAT days. But you can come today and get pre-approved credit for VAT Day. Save some of the hassle of this VAT Day and drop by some of your local Hosford department stores today. Yes! Come to any Hosford department today and get pre-approved credit for December 18th and December 19th. No down payment necessary. That's right, zero money down. And no payment until February 2021. That's right. No payment until February 2021. Come to Hosford's today, where we will be dropping major discount plus pre-approved credit when you shop now. How, you ask? Well, it's simple. All you have to do is visit any of the Hosford's departments, including furniture and appliances, Ashley Furniture Home Store, Building and Nevis Centers, and the Automotive Division. Make your VAT Day wish list and we'll do the credit check. Come back on VAT Day and get all that you picked with your pre-approved credit and be on your way to a merrier Christmas. Whether it's new furniture, a new stove, or a brand new car, Hosford's is giving you pre-approved credit today. Be on your way to a merrier Christmas. Pre-approved credit today for VAT Days December 18th and December 19th at Hosford's. Visit stores for all details.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Good afternoon. We'll take our first call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, greetings. I agree with you. We have to deal with it from starting point. Home, school, starting point, young age.
Right.
If we make it go long, it's going to become the problem to deal with thereafter. And that's what we have been seeing right through the region. St. Kitts Nevis, even though we had some lull and guns giving up and them things that we had a recent murder. And it shows that the thing not stop. The thing not stop. It's just a matter of time for it to keep showing its ugly head. Wait for a minute. We want to do like Mr. Bartlett. We want to tell the ones and ones them with gun to just school out. Use the gun for, if you're going to use the gun for bigger things. Use the gun to protect the nation. Yeah. But the way owner use the gun, when enough have gun, when enough dash for the gun, them if you're not going to use the gun, them kind of way there. I tell you. Because it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And we remember the mamas them, you know. We stay online? Are we still online?
Yes, we are, caller. Go ahead.
Okay. Remember the mama them, we say, no one does feel it like the mothers them, you know. When murders take place. And all the youth to get killed in Newtown when we born, you know. Your father get killed same way, you know, in the same gunshot kind of way, you know.
We lost that call. Yeah, we lost you. Call us back here on Voices 1FM 98.9. We are still taking your calls, so call us today and let us have a discussion on this issue. And yes, caller, it is, in my opinion, I believe it is something that we would have to tackle from the beginning and from the early stage, and we can't wait until the last minute to say, well, we're going to try to fix crime now and try to tell someone who would have been involved in this thing or who was involved in this thing for the entire life. Well, look, I'll give you this and you done the crime. And that is not always the case. Crime begins at home, it begins at school, it begins from an early age. Again, it is your environment. It is what you begin to see, whether it be from your peers, your friends, and your family. We'll take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You are on the air.
Yes, good afternoon. Many years ago, Peter Tosh in a song, Peace Treaty. This one got a gun, that one got a gun when it bust. I mean, to call in to talk, to emphasize on this gun thing. I call in to emphasize on this on carnival. I don't know if you want to accept my call.
Go ahead, caller, go ahead.
Because, for example, right, they're sending a folklore parade, and they're going to exclude the clown. I taking part in this thing from since 1970. And the director of culture wants to take it up on his own. And decide no clown for carnival. That's a big offense to me, you know. And I want to believe you're 50 years yet. And I don't put in so much years and I can't go down and, for example, right? There's a cruise ship in the harbor. By the time the 26th of December come around, they're on quarantine. Look at them, they're just masquerade, Macajumbi and them different things, but they're going to see a clown. Hey, this thing can't be right. Because I don't have to get to the Minister of Carnival and Culture, you know. Because this thing can't be, you know. Mr. Tribal cannot dictate this thing here. He got something, a vendetta against me. Personally, he got a vendetta against me. But let him wait. Because clown going to be on the streets of Bastille for carnival. Because, Mr. Cornelius, look at it, right? The 26th of December, the 1st of January, and the 2nd of January is money to be made. The same tourists on the cruise ship between West Independence Square Street and Church Street, because got things going round and round. The vendors could be on the street. The bus drivers could be making money. The parents could be buying clothes for the children. The vendors could be making a little money. You look at the kind of building financial sector of the country for the period of time when people wasn't making the money. Not moreover, He could relieve the stress from the parents and the children. But Mr. Troy Mills, children who want to play clown, who could dance clown, he decided they coming on the street. But no, it ain't gonna happen. Because I put on my clown suit. They got to lock me up. Personally, they gonna got to lock me up. Because me get to the minister of Carnival and the Prime Minister too. Because this thing can't be right. No one man is not oil on. Here, put on a Carnival costume. They don't want to know. Anyway, you want to call me, This is Kashkai Tree. Remember, I gave me number screen last week.
Yes, I am still yet to call you. I do have your number here with me. I wrote it down. I have it in my book up at the desk.
Because this thing, not the man from since I was 10 years, I put in on clown suit. And this man now come tell me I can't put on my clown suit and enjoy myself to release my stress. But the man here, one that stress to kill. It's like X amount of sentence people was going doctor office come your ear because of stress.
Right.
It's related to stress.
Right.
Try Mills, behave yourself.
Well, Carla,
behave yourself.
What I can say. Thank you so much for your input, Carla. What I can say to this whole carnival issue is that, I mean, I understand your concerns, but what I can say is that we're in COVID-19, and so carnival will definitely not be the same. And so the carnival we had last year and the year before, when things were basically normal, will not be the same. And so changes would be made. However, I understand your point and I understand your concerns. We are still taking your calls. Call us today at 662-0989, 762-0989, and 466-0989. Call us today right here on Voices. Good afternoon, caller. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Yes, good afternoon.
I want to take some of your time to just chant a song. Rude boy, go dash where you're gone. Uncle Rude boy, go dash where you're gone. Say you bus shot in a new tongue. You bus shot in the country. You bus shot in the village. And you run come kill Tennessee. Rude boy, go dash where you're gone. Mr. Cornelius?
Yes, I'm listening.
Them youths got to change, man.
Yeah.
Because I will ask the system to don't play with it, If you gotta wipe it out, wipe it out. Because we ain't gonna go down the road. We're not supposed to murdering poor black people like that. I don't care who he be. I don't care where they say he go. We could sit around and deal with this thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
They don't murder like that, man. Have a good day, my brother.
Thank you.
Eli, come in, man.
Yes, thank you, caller, for your input here on Voices. And as we're talking about this very delicate topic, there are some countries that they deal with criminals a different way. There are some countries that deal with criminals a different way. There are some countries that the authorities, the police officers, they ain't in a long talk with you as to why you did this and as to why you did that. They quicker get up and kill you as criminals. And they see it as, well, we're going to wipe out all the criminals. You can't wipe out all the criminals. You kill a criminal, you make a criminal. Because that criminal may have a family, a son, a daughter. You never know. And as we're talking about this son and daughter issue, whenever you hear criminals, people tend to think, oh, he's only man. He's only man. But there are some women that have been behind a lot of the crime that have been taking place in our communities across the Caribbean region. But yes, we are still taking your calls. And for those of you who are just tuning in, you are listening to Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. I am your host, Devon Cornelius. And if you would like to call us, you can call us at 662-0989, 762-0989, and 466-0989. If you have no calls, we will just give our sponsors a little shout out, and then we will return to take your calls.
Paint it, tile it, improve it. Your walls, paint it. Your floors, tile it. Your home, improve it. Huge savings savings at the Hosford's Building Center. Paint it, tile it, improve it. Sales event happening now. Yes. Come to Hosford's Building Center now and get savings of 25% off all paint and up to 75% off all tiles. Yes. Nothing's are gonna keep at Hosford's with up to 75% off piles of tiles in all styles and 25% off all paint. Come now and get a chance to win $500 shopping spree at Value Mart with the purchase of 5 gallons of paint or more. That's right. Buy 5 gallons or more of paint and you get a chance to win $500 in free groceries. Starting now until December 31st, 2020. It's your home. So paint it, tile it, improve it. At Hosford's Building and Nevis Center's year-end Paint It, Tile It, Improve It sale. Come now. Save big and simply paint it, tile it, and improve it. The event starts now and ends December 31st, 2020. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Voices right here on your radio station. That is 1FM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and we are talking about the issue of crime and violence within our communities right here in the Caribbean region, in particular St. Kitts and Nevis. And we are taking your calls. Good afternoon, caller. You are on the air.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
First time I ever called into your show, but
Thank
I'm
you.
always listening. I have a concern. In St. Kitts, where they only have reporters, they don't have any investigators. And TV, sometimes you don't see like reporters running to sites and bringing a report from there. I don't see a lot of that happen here. So sometimes you just leave up to the police alone just to go and investigate, and the police have so much on their plate. They need local investigators, man. Bert Davis, we used to work at Win FM. At one point, he used to go from places to do all of that stuff. And we don't see much of that thing around here. You know, we just hear too much hearsay. This report. Reporters supposed to be on the ground, man. I think it is fast going enough to have that sort of dialogue between the reporters and the news media. We need to see more of that, man, so we can have more crime solved speedily, you know, because you just bank up, you put money in a jail, you not going to solve nothing, no.
Right.
You not going to solve nothing, so we need investigators on the ground itself, man. There's a lot of information out there, but you see some people now go come down. If they come out in the countryside and just ask questions, and, you know, they will get, you know, they might not solve that crime that happened recently, but you know, by asking around and listening things, they might hear different things, and, you know, they can solve a case which is even passed by. So we need more of that, man. We need more reporters on the go.
Right.
All right?
Yes, thank you, caller, so much for your input, and let me say I wholeheartedly, 110% agree with you. We definitely need some independent investigators to aid in the investigation process and, you know, help solving crime, and not just, well, but different forms of crime, of course. But there is an issue. Before I get into that, let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon. You in school, right? That's a rhetorical question. But do you remember when you were going to school that you ever get licks for doing something for something that you did not do?
Yes.
And the person who
Yes.
did it cannot be look innocent. And that was the person who committed the act.
Yes. It's
It's still happening, you know.
Even at
And there are
at
people-
home with your siblings.
Yeah. And there are people who boost up people to do things. And when the persons get in trouble, they wipe off them out like they had nothing to do with it, you know. And those are the same people who put up the person to do the act. So I think in my mind, I think people need to be educated as to people who make mention of words, use words, and wipe off them out like they did not do anything, and they are so innocent. But they are the one who most of the time cause people to get harmed, bodily harm, because they talk people into doing these things. So, and the other thing, sometimes you people stay quiet and think that let somebody go on in a way like they're right. Sometimes if you just mention and say, "But I know, if you look at it this way, this is how it is," and they hear it from a different side, then they will understand much better, because sometimes the person lack up who they're communicating to. So it's just education, develop the communication skill, avoid argument. If you cannot get a discussion, don't argue, because nobody hearing anybody when you argue. You could get a discussion, you say what you say, I say what I say, and if we agree, we agree to disagree. But the way we're going, we're pointing fingers at the person who commit the act. What about the person who caused the act to happen? I think I have said enough.
Thank you, Carter, so much for your input on our program. This is Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. And just to add to what the previous caller said, you have a situation here when persons try to do their job. When you have persons, whether it be in the media and even honest police officers. And we have a call. We'll take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hope you enjoy your lunch.
Yes, it was well.
Yeah, no, boy, you really a new generation. I know we never people eat lunch when the program finished. You seem to, maybe the needless thing. We're wasting the time to fill your belly. Then you come and have a good lunch. Anyway, now to the issue of the question. There are questions that need to be asked, you know, and avenues that are open to get information. Now, I believe, you know, sometimes there's a success with failure. When, just like the COVID, you say, well, we don't have any cases, so you start putting on your mask. You see where I'm getting that, right?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
You know, the lot of shooting and such stuff, so we don't have to be on our guard or whatever. Now, what about the younger people? Because, I mean, I can tell you, the younger ones are seeking, you know, like the mafia, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the old ones drop out, the younger ones want to fill the gap. We had a gentleman here, I forgot his name and all. He used to talk about stop and think before you proceed.
I remember what you're talking about it, because when I was in high school, he came. Stop and think before. I don't think it's proceed, you know. It's proceed?
Yeah, proceed.
Yeah. Stop and think before you proceed. Something like that for
Because
real.
before you act, but he says stop and think before you proceed.
Yes.
Because I recall visiting Washi to give a talk, and he was up there talking to the children.
Yes, I remember.
And people complaining about, we're wasting money. We're wasting money. Now here is somebody trying to change the mindset of the young people. Then you have the younger ones. I don't know if they're able to meet since you have the COVID. Who has taken the place? Now I think I hear that there is some kind of a in which those who have joined the peace treaty are operating in. Now, they are the ones who would have received all the psychological training, and now they're into investment and into positive action. They are the ones the leaders among them who should be called upon to extend the program. I don't mean the pay part, you know. And about conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. Because our people we still don't know how to settle our conflicts. There are elements out there who maybe decided not to take part in the peace initiative because they want to make sure they have their gun to use it. You know, out of fear or out of fear of retaliation. And the police, the security services may have to reactivate some of their programs. Maybe increase their patrol. They know the areas, you know. They know the areas. They may have to step up some of their social programs again. The same one where somebody goes out to the communities to talk to the people, and I'm inviting them to come up my street. Neverson Street East. I don't care who works to hear me say so. There are people who may want to change, but you have younger ones dropping in, trying to fill gaps. They know. You hear about bike gangs all over Bastille. These young men are trying to find relevance in their life. They want some sort of attention. They're not only in Bastille, they're all over the country. They would have heard of the notoriety of the older ones, you know what I mean?
Right, right.
Because, you know, those things sound appealing, you know. Might have been your uncle, might have been your neighbor, and you remember, you hear all these pan stories without him thinking about the danger and the death. And you want something exciting to do. What are we offering them? What is being done actively to steer them away from crime? Because this is not the Wild West. So I am calling upon the security forces. I believe the admin is still here. The young explorers, or whatever they call them, they need to be activated. The young people should be actively involved in doing something. Because when there's nothing to do, there's the devil find work for idle hands to do.
Yes. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
then.
you so much as we take some more calls. Just before we take, we have any calls? No, we have no calls. Just before we take more calls and as we approach the end time, there is a point that I would want to bring across. And some people are going to get very offended, and I'm not going to apologize for saying it. We have a situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis where when you try to do the right thing, do your job, there are people in high places and specific places. They try their best to pluck you down and pull you out and pluck you out. And so you are unable to achieve what you want to achieve. We often hear of these movie-like crime situations within our communities. And you hear about it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And you realize, just stop hearing about it. And so you ask the question, well, what is the status on this? How is the investigation going on this matter? These are the questions that we often ask, or persons often ask. You don't have to be an investigator to ask these questions. You don't have to be someone in the media to ask these questions. You don't have to be a journalist to ask these questions. But as a concerned citizen, you have that right. You have that right to ask questions. Of course, at the same time, being respectful. But we are saying that there needs to be more investigators. But it begs the question, are we in St. Kitts and Nevis ready for real investigations? investigators and investigative journalism? I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not ready for that. While I wholeheartedly support that, in order to aid in the prevention or the curbing of the crime situation, I don't think we're ready for it. Because when you tend to ask certain questions, persons say, oh, you're trying to get into this, or you're trying to get into that, and that ain't nothing to do with you, and you need to keep out. So what we really want? That is my question. Because I don't understand. You often hear about, we have a call? Let us take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon again. I sometimes ask the question, if these policemen don't really take the job serious. I remember a couple of years ago, I walked into a business place, and I walked right into a trap. There was about, 5, 6 persons there already sticked up and tied up. And the man pointed the gun at me. And I walk in going towards him, and I say, boy, what stupid is you doing? Why you not take the gun? I want to kick it out your hand. When I reached close to him, another person came and kicked me. I didn't know someone else was there. Tie me up, take away all of my money. And when the whole thing finished, when the police get there, the police say, boy, I see something like this happen on TV last night. And I said to the officer, he was you're unprofessional. I mean, if you see a movie like that happen last night, why you say that in front of 5, 6, 7 person which is traumatized with just being tied up and robbed at gunpoint? And, he just laughed it off. Matter of fact, I didn't even hear nothing else from that case. I lose all my money. I almost could have lost my life. Matter of fact, one of the officers told me that the gun that the guy had was loaded. Eventually, I think they catched him because they had a third person downstairs, and he probably didn't get no money from the other two, and he kind of rat it out. And when I went to court, I mean, the person, the accuser was there. And I just see the person walk around, and I say, what's going on? And the officer said to me, one of the person accept that there was there, and the other person said they had to throw the case. I said, so if I didn't ask, I would not have known. I just been walking around down there with the suspect of the criminal, and I know the one that was walking around was the one with the gun. I know his body posture, but the other person take the rap. You see, what system need to change up, man? Yeah, all right.
Thank you, caller, for your input. That was the last call as we wrap up this program at 1:30. But as I was saying before, I don't think we're ready for this whole investigation thing, because I find around here, people choose to investigate what they feel like and what they think is important. And if they don't think you're important, then to hell with you and the entire investigation. And I've said that. And I'm not going to apologize for saying it. I'm not going to apologize for saying it. I find around here, we pick and choose. We pick and choose what things to tackle, and we pick and choose what to really shed light on. I definitely support the call that there needs to be, personal investigators to aid the police officers in solving these crimes. But some of these crimes are in my opinion, they're, for lack of a better word, let me say funny. They're so funny and fixed. Funny and fixed. That you hear about it for a week and then that's it. Mind the crime ain't solved, eh? You know what happened, but you stop hearing about it. And don't you dare ask about that situation. You hear about it, and you may have situation where concerned, whether it be family members and friends, they ask the police, well, what's going on with the case? What's happening here? What's happening there? And years and years and years and years and years down the road, they're still investigating. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much for listening to this edition of Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. There is so much to say, but Lord help us in this place. We want to thank you guys so much for listening to this program and continue to stay tuned to this radio station, 1FM 98.9. I was your host, Devon Cornelius, and until next time, continue to have a fantastic day. Goodbye.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
If I can make one wish come true, it's to spend Christmas with.
And Flow brings us all closer together with special Christmas offers for you, like free installation of high-speed internet for your home when you sign up. On the go, top up $35 and enjoy 2 gigabytes bonus data. Plus, enjoy great handset savings to share every special moment. Flow connects you to all you want for Christmas. Conditions apply.
It's official! Friday, December 18th and Saturday, December 19th are VAT days. But you can come today and get pre-approved credit for VAT Day. Save some of the hassle of this VAT Day and drop by some of your local Hosfors department stores today. Yes! Come to any Hosfors department today and get pre-approved credit for December 18th and December 19th. No down payment necessary. That's right, zero money down. And no payment until February 2021. That's right. No payment until